say the brutal brawl / little slap from Paulie. Yeah, no, so there's some good stuff we can get into.
I don't
But
know what
yeah,
you mean by a little slap, man. That was devastating. Okay.
yeah, dental trip, obviously booked ASAP
for the GOAT Artem Lobov. You want to just get into that right away?
Yeah, we can.
I feel like you do.
We can.
I feel like you do. Let's play the clip because it's a good one. This clip's by way of AB Boxing and News. Shout out to them.
Wrap yourself in bubble wrap, and let's make it a fight. Not a chance, not a chance. And you don't want to do it here, man, because you're going to get broke up in here. I'm telling you.
Don't threaten me here. Don't fucking threaten me here, bro. Don't threaten me here. Don't threaten me here. Whoa, guys. Whoa, guys.
Whoa, guys. Whoa.
What's my sunglasses? What's my sunglasses? The next time it's a harder slap. That was a bitch slap for a bitch. Next time I'm gonna slap you like a real bitch that you are. All right? Don't get in my face and make threats here. Okay? I got in your face to promote. Don't get in my face and make threats here, because I'll fuck you up here. Okay? Next time I'll smack the shit out of you for real. I smack you like a little bitch because that's what you are right now.
That's fucking illegal.
All right. Understand what you're gonna have with you, bro. You're on a death wish, bro. You're on a death wish. I'm going to put you in a body bag in June. I'm telling you. I'm gonna make sure I kill you in June. I'm telling you. You're gonna wind up in a cemetery after June. You think I'm playing with you? You disrespect boxing.
Disrespect box. Anyways,
that was like an Usyk finish.
I will say this.
Box.
I think it's a side topic we don't really need to dive into because I don't think we're the right people to dive into this topic, but I really hope that all the people that bitched at Deontay Wilder for his body bag comments also bitch about Paulie for his body bag comments. Just saying.
Well, I straight away said,
I know
what was his views on Wilder saying he wanted to catch a body on his record?
Well, it's funny because when you sent that text, I didn't see the full clip. So I was like, what are you talking about, right? So then I went and watched it again. I'm like, oh, that's funny. Yeah, I guarantee there's going to be a huge double standard on the amount of people that criticize Paulie Malignaggi compared to Deontay Wilder for the same exact comment, almost word for word.
I can let that slide. Considering before that he was saying, well next time I'll slap you harder. I'm like, oh man, up your game. That is poor. You don't just get in the face off, do a little slap, and then next time I'll do it harder. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, Paulie. Jesus. I am in no way has that led me to think, shall I get this pay-per-view? I don't give two fucks about this whatsoever.
Look, okay. I think you are
hyped. I know you're hyped, Matt. No, you're gonna totally get this.
I'm not hyped. I'm definitely not gonna. No. Rob, you know me, right? Okay. I'm not gonna buy. I'm never gonna buy a bare knuckle event. I've never have. I never will. I see no value in it. It's not a sport to me, so I don't care.
Right. Is this the same? I'm not buying it like Spence Gus here.
No. This is like, trust me. Like I put it this way. I have bought boxing pay-per-views before, right? Mm-hmm. I've never bought a bare knuckle pay-per-view in my life. So why would I start now?
Are you gonna stream it?
I will definitely wait for the IG clips because those are great. Those are hilarious. Yeah. But I'm not going to sit there and watch a fat Paulie bare knuckle box a fat Artem Lobov. I have no desire in paying for that.
You just got me a little more hyped.
However, I am 100% hyped to see Paulie get his revenge. Not because I like Paulie. Everyone knows that listens to the show knows I fucking hate Paulie. I think he's kind of a dirtbag, piece of shit human being. We've never got along in any sort of way.
I thought you patched things up a little.
We never patched things up. We just never came to blows.
Oh, okay.
And then we never saw each other again, so it was a lot easier.
Having seen him slap someone, I think you could have handled it, Matt.
I think I could. But digressing from that, I still love to see, you know me, I love to see pettiness. I love to see beef in combat sports. I love to see the chaos. We were talking on Twitter, me and you, in GIF form, about this fight. right? And I responded obviously with the Batman. It's either the Dark Knight Returns one with God, what's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? Christian Bale and what's his name? Come on, he's British. Help me out here, Rob.
Christian Bale and what's his name?
What's Alfred's name?
Oh, Italian Job. What's his name? The old dude.
Italian Job.
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Yeah.
That was a deep cut, though. Italian Job. I love it, though.
But my head was saying, "You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors."
Well, the funny part is, like, obviously, we're different generations, right? So you think of the Michael Caine Italian Job. When you said Italian Job, I was like,
"You thought Jason Statham?"
I thought,
is that Jason Statham? I don't even know.
Mark Wahlberg and Jason Statham, I think, are in that movie. I think like Most Def, like that. Who else is in it? That movie has a weird, like a very big weird cast. Anyway, digressing.
I've never watched it.
Good movie, good remake actually. The original is better, but I mean the remake for being a remake is still pretty good. Digressing though.
Yeah.
I love the beef. I love chaos. I like to see the world burn, a la Michael Caine and Batman. And this fight and this beef that's now what, 3 years old, right? 2016, I think, is when the Mayweather McGregor fight happened, right?
Nah.
Yeah, that was 2016. What was it after that? Was 2017?
You just need to lay off that green stuff.
It wasn't last year, so it wasn't last year.
Let me look it up.
Because last year he fought Khabib. It was the year before that, so 2017? And then 2016 he fought...
It's 17.
17. Lay off the green stuff. I was a year off. Reacting...
Yeah,
what year did you say? You didn't even mention a year. Shut the fuck up. Stay in your place.
Yeah, 28th of August, 2017.
Yeah, okay. I was right. Anyways, I said 2016, 2017. You said you didn't give a year, so you're not right at all, Rob. I don't know why you're grandstanding here, but digressing. We're now, again, going on 2 years, going to be 3 years next year. Again, I think this beef is going to continue, obviously. And there's been times it's gone old, obviously. But right now, it's hotter than ever, guys. Let's be honest. I love beef. So give me this all day long. Pause. But I will definitely watch as many Twitter and Instagram videos as possible of these two guys beefing. And on top of that, I can't wait for Conor to step in, because then it's really going to get funny. Because Paulie is obviously a deranged lunatic suffering from CTE in his late 30s right now and overweight. And that in of itself is hilarious. But add on top of that a coked out Conor McGregor that is more concerned about selling whiskey than fighting. I'm absolutely entertained. Absolutely entertained.
And what's more interesting than this fight is McGregor's also doing rosé, right? He's doing, what are they calling it? Champ Rosé. That's the name of his new rosé wine line.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Look at you, Rob. Be a low key Conor McGregor mark. I see you.
No, it's even got at Champ Rosé. You can follow Champ Rosé.
God, that's such a bad name. But yes, I have really no in-depth honest take about Paulie and Artem Lobov's slap. Other than it was a very bad slap. It is pretty laughable, and let's all enjoy it and laugh at it together. Grab your popcorn and enjoy the shit show for being a shit show.
Oh yeah, it was poor. It really was poor. But if that was some attempt to get pay-per-view sales up, I don't know if that worked. If this is what we've got in store, I don't know. But yeah, poorly. For
how sad is Paulie now?
Yeah, he's gone full on sort of stalker ex-girlfriend regarding Conor. I think he's let it go, man. But it literally just takes Conor to just say something, and he's throwing out the bait, and just watch him get all wound up and crazy. But nah, for a guy who's so good on a microphone for Showtime, a guy. Obviously, he's a New Yorker, I guess, or Brooklyn or that kind of area, right?
Brooklyn's in New York. So
yeah, his shit talk is poor. It really is. It was really bad. I'm like, oh man.
yeah.
It was poor. Like, yeah, that was a sort of like a lesser slap, but next time it'll be harder. Like, come on.
It'd be a full bitch slap.
Yeah, because you're a bitch. That's why I bitch slap you, because that's what bitches do. Oh my god.
It's
but
just
yeah,
sad, man.
Apparently that's this weekend, right?
Is that this weekend?
I think it is. So when you said there was no good cards on this weekend, Matt, you see, you're ill-informed.
It actually might do. I'm gonna use the term "well" loosely here, but it might do well if it's this weekend because there's nothing competing with it this weekend. And Paulie and Artem Lobov are the biggest names fighting this weekend if it is this weekend.
Sad.
Very, very fucking sad. And then we can come back around to family shit or side shit. Let's talk about Kovalev and Yarde. And then I think we can also talk about Top Rank on top of that because we were making some jokes about Top Rank earlier in our group chat that I now think are actually coming to life. And it's
coming to fruition.
Yeah, and it's weird. We need to talk about it. But Dan Rayfield, ESPN, reporting that obviously the purse bid is set for, I think it's Monday next week, right? I think it's the 8th of April. I think it's the exact date for the Kovalev-Yarde fight. The split will be a 70-30 split for Kovalev's favor, obviously, since he's the champion. It looks like Kathy Duver Main Events, etc., are going to push for this. On top of that, it kind of looks like ESPN, maybe not in direct, obvious statement, are sort of pushing for it in a way. I think Dan Rayfield reporting and the way he's reporting it, the wording of this report, kind of leads me to think that ESPN wants to make this fight. Obviously, they have the deal with Frank Warren regards under that, so it's an in-house ESPN fight. We're going to sort of table that idea and that talking point or that angle of the story after we talk about Kovalev Ward individually, because I want to talk about ESPN as a conglomerate and what sort of fights they can put on that are big. But digressing from that, Kovalev Ward, Rob, I'll sort of pitch it to you. Do you think it happens? Do you think we get this purse bid? Those can be separate questions or the same question. Take it for as it is. And, the main question I think I want to ask you is, do you want this fight to happen? Does it make sense in your mind? Is it a good fight? Sort of give me your thoughts about Kovalev Ward and Yarde maybe taking the huge, massive step up and fighting Sergey Kovalev. Or do we see another Wilder Fury situation or any other sanctioning body mandating, ordering where, yes, it's technically there, but does it really actually happen? Your thoughts?
No, I don't think we see it happen. I think
why?
Because Kathy Duver's stated that there's a venue in Russia that she's already got on hold.
Oh, that was like the cue for you, like, oh no, this ain't real.
I don't see Warren and Yarde thinking, yeah, let's go to fucking Kovalev's literal back garden, not his, LA base that he set himself up in or wherever it is. We're not talking about Russia. She said they had been talking.
It's a purse bid though. They could win it. Put the fight in UK somewhere.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think Top Rank can probably trump Frank Warren pretty easily. I don't know. Either way.
Hold on. Let me make a joke first, Rob. You're gonna like this joke, okay? BT has the $80 million, okay? They can still use that, okay?
That's right. It's not in Josh Boy's pocket, right?
Yeah, that money is still there somewhere, right? So we can definitely see them use that to get this Yarde fight, because we all know Yarde's a superstar that's gonna beat Kovalev and become a international star, right?
Yeah. What is 30% of 80 million? That's not a bad payday.
That's not. I didn't say the full 80 million. I just said something. Let's not get carried away with the joke.
No, but, I don't know. Should it happen? Yeah, I guess it should, because he's the mandatory, and that's how we want boxing to work. Whether he deservedly is the mandatory, WBO rankings sometimes do leave people scratching their heads a little bit, but I don't know. I guess that's how it kind of boxing should work in a way. Like, he's #1 contender, then he should fight the champion. And if they deem that Kovalev's due a mandatory defense, then yeah. But will Yarde go to Russia? Or I don't know. I don't think so. We'll see.
I probably side with you in thinking that this fight doesn't happen. I just don't think Yarde wants it. I don't think Frank Warren wants it. I think maybe Kathy Duver wants it, but that doesn't mean a lot, let's be honest. However, I think this is a good sort of segue to go into the bigger topic of ESPN and sort of what fights could they put on. Is this a fight that potentially ESPN wants? And in similar fashion to, obviously not a 1-to-1 analog, I'm not making that 1-to-1 analogy, but how DAZN sort of, not forced, but they sort of pressured a AJ Miller matchup, right? Because they thought it was good for their brand, good for their network. Do you see ESPN saying, look, we don't have a lot to work with on our boxing side? Do they sort of force Frank Warren and Kathy Duva's hand to sort of make this fight in whatever fashion they do make it in? Because, like I've said, ESPN may not have a lot to work with this year, and this may be one of the, honestly, the bigger fights they could make. Your sort of thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, when you really look at it, like, they signed Fury, and they've got no one there that's gonna make you sit up and go, oh wow, ESPN Top Rank have signed Fury. That means we're getting, this great fight or anything. They've got Loma, who to a point is kind of running out of, I don't know, legit opponents that are gonna cement this.
He's good for a year.
Yeah, but how much more are they invested in Loma? They want him. Bob wouldn't want Loma heading anywhere else. I guess they've pushed him super fast, and it's kind of come back to bite them a little bit, really. But to a point, I mean, they've obviously got the unified lightweight champion there. It's just whether they can entice people from other networks to, make these bigger fights. I don't know. Who else? Like Kovalev. Yeah, he got found out against Alvarez, but then came back and really put on a good boxing display and won it back. But he's I don't think he's still the Kovalev of old. He's maybe coming to the closing sort of chapters of his career, I would say. Who else is there? I know they got Teofimo. They got some good young prospects, but they're all sort of in similar weight categories, right? I think.
I would argue different weight categories. That's the bigger issue. Is that, like, you have, look individually at their stars: Crawford, Loma, Vajdic, Fury, Teofimo, Shakur Stevenson. Most of those guys are in different divisions.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably like the youngsters, like Stevenson, Lopez. They're kind of going to be going around together, right? Depends who moves up first.
Years down the line.
Yeah.
Right now they're separated by 2 weight classes. So,
I mean, I saw the other day someone said, so ESPN have got Kovalev, Beterbiev,
Vajdic,
and then none of them are fighting each other. And just let me know when one of these guys is fighting the other one. It's like great little light heavyweight sort of round robin kind of thing that could happen there. Are we going to get it? Who knows? Probably not. Maybe one of them will fight one of them, but I don't know. It's tricky because all these million homes that ESPN is in. I just don't know that. I don't know who's the biggest star, I guess, on under the ESPN.
Crawford.
Crawford's bigger than Loma, you think?
He's done better numbers.
Yeah, I guess.
Like, from just pure metrics, he's done better numbers, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, I'm not saying like Loma's not a star or not anything like that. No, I'm just saying, like, he's the clear number 2 in my opinion. After that, I don't know.
You hear that, Fu? Loma is number 2.
I want smoke.
Call in, Fu. call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue, or call in international on Skype, Mixed Combat Radio. And then
Crawford's another one that is just running out of. Look, he's having to do a pay-per-view with Amir Khan. What's next? I know Bob's said, we'll fight Spence next after this, and yeah, right, okay. Let me know when that happens.
Well, yeah, that's sort of my point, is that a lot of the good fighters that they don't really have potentially great matchups for them. And the ones they do, like a Kovalev, Vodjic, Beterbiev, for lack of a better word, threesome. Pause. I think even regardless, they don't even those matchups. They don't sort of pique the interest of the casual fan base.
No.
Vodjic fought last weekend, or I said this weekend, and his viewership did the same amount of viewership that episode of Cops did on Saturday. Just to put that in perspective, guys.
Cops is a good show.
You've seen the show Cops, right?
I don't know.
You know that the hand cam, like the reality show Cops on old Spike TV. Remember that show Cops?
I don't know what you mean, but I don't know if I've seen that specific show. But yeah, there's a bunch of those kind of.
Yeah, it's one of those, right? It's not good television, anyways. That's my point.
On a good day, it can be, but.
Anyway, we're going to get to some white trash Cops material later with Ronda Rousey and WWE. But digressing from that, again, I think the reason why I brought up Kovalev Yarde potentially being pushed is that Yarde does do numbers online. How that translates to ESPN viewership or ESPN Plus subscription rates or viewership, I don't know. I think maybe it's something that ESPN pushes for, because let's be honest, I think in terms of pure online metrics, I think Kovalev Yarde does better than Kovalev Vodjic, even though Kovalev Vodjic is by far and away the best in-house matchup that ESPN can make, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
And
yeah.
I think either you or Mitty made the comment in our group chat about holy shit, Kovalev in 2019, I'm paraphrasing, but Kovalev in 2019 is in the best matchup for ESPN.
Yeah, he's in that equation.
That's sad. That's sort of an indictment on ESPN stable in and of itself. And it's true. What else can really compete with a Kovalev Vodjic or Kovalev Yarde in terms of being, or even Kovalev Beterbiev in a sense, as being great matchup in-house, on top of that potential to do something in terms of viewership. The only other one is maybe Crawford Horn, but Jeff Horn's now being ranked at middleweight, so God knows what's happening with Jeff Horn, and God knows if even he's an in-house fighter nowadays. Another fight that is a potential in-house fight that could compete with it is Tyson Fury, Joseph Parker. However, I even think there's an argument that, look, I think Kovalev Vodjic or Kovalev Yarde could do better if you put it side by side on ESPN with same prime time, same lead in. They probably do about the same at this point, in my honest opinion. There's really not going to be a drastic difference in that viewership. So, how much trouble is Top Rank, and a better question, ESPN in when it comes to their boxing content? How forced are they, in a sense, to work with other networks, work with other streaming services, work with other promoters, more so than the PBC, quote, league or conglomerate, or the DAZN, quote, conglomerate or league. It's just something to look into, something to at least pay attention to, because the biggest fight on ESPN's schedule right now is Crawford Khan, and that looks like it's going to be an absolute dud.
And you got to pay extra for it. So
yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I was listening to a few things before, and it's at what point did ESPN say, look, these numbers ain't, great. Well, we want some kind of return on investment. We're putting a lot of money into it, and what have we got to look forward to at the moment? It's yeah. I wonder if I mean, Bob's been taking lots of shots at Eddie in the past few days, and Eddie's the one who saying, "Oh, we got a good relationship with Top Rank." It's like Bob's come out and tried to shit all out. Joshua should finish out with Hearn and come and sign with us. What else? Wilder knocks Joshua out. One punch, and just I don't know. Eddie Hearn's lost his mind, and he hasn't got a clue. He hasn't got his first damn clue about the US market. Just a whole bunch of stuff. So I don't know. I think he will be sort of pressured to almost work with other networks and because the big fights do involve some of his fighters, but
absolutely
they're having to cross the street, as they like to say it, to fight these other opponents in these big fights. So
absolutely, because they do, like you said, they do have big pieces. Crawford, Loma, and Fury are 3 big pieces in 3 respective lucrative divisions with lucrative matchups in them. But they're on the wrong side of the street, so to speak.
And as boxing fans, it's going to be so frustrating if we don't get those, because it will always be like, say, like the welterweight division. It'll always be, oh, Errol Spencer's the guy, and it'll be, oh, some people are like, but what about Crawford? There'll always be that. Errol Spence will always kind of have that, but he didn't fight Crawford, or you know what I mean? And it's like, but so X amount of people like Crawford would have beat Spence, and it's always going to be hanging over. Like if we don't get Fury in one of the top fights against, say Joshua and Wilder do sort it out, and then obviously Tyson Fury's in the wings waiting, but it doesn't happen. It's like we're still in this thing of who's the best heavyweight because Fury didn't fight the winner of that, and same with Loma. People will say, well, he didn't fight Mikey or Javonta or whatever at the time, and it's because I don't know, Bob let it marinate too long, or didn't bother, or I don't know. It's always the big thing. I know with a lot of boxing fans, we want the biggest fights, but people are just spread across all these different networks and streaming services and stuff. And as much as these promoters say, yeah, we can do that, we can do that, they don't seem to get made or whatever.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Rob. And just frustrating. Like at this point, like it becomes extremely frustrating. Gary brought up something, I think it was yesterday's show. I don't know if you listened to it, the full show, because Gary's called us towards the end of the show yet. And he brought up how if PBC has the matchups we think they're going to have for the welterweight division, right? We're going to have Pacquiao, Thurman, Spence versus Porter, Danny Garcia, and potentially them fighting again maybe at the last quarter of the year. We could definitely see that with how fast these guys are fighting. Pac Thurman fighting in July. There's a whole other 6 months of the year they could fight in. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them fight, both those guys fight again, and maybe not each other, obviously, but different opponents, depending on who wins and who loses, in November, December, October. Would we, or would I specifically in his question, be satisfied with the welterweight division, with PBC's side of the welterweight division this year? And my answer was absolutely yes. Like, regardless of Crawford not being in the mix, those are all still top 5, top 6 guys fighting each other, right? Like, those are all still great fights, competitive fights, elite fights, compelling fights from multiple angles, right? And for DAZN, right, with their middleweight division, sort of the same argument there, right? Like, I think a lot of those guys are going to be fighting each other this year, and we're going to see some really good matchups, some really good fights, some really good outcomes and storylines that are produced this year. So I'm going to be satisfied with what DAZN brings us with that division. This might sound a little bit crazy here, guys. Just being honest here. AJ and Wilder, respectively, if they don't fight any of the other top guys, meaning each other or Fury, they still have enough relevant matchups in the top 10, top 15 that I'm not grabbing my pitchfork, guys. I know. Like, they can still make compelling matchups. A Dylan White rematch still makes sense to me. Usyk in the mix with AJ fight is still compelling to me, especially if he comes in here and just lights up Takam. I know you might hate it, but a Wilder-Renaki fight on Showtime isn't a bad fight still. It may not be the fight we want, but still not a bad fight, right? So I'm still overall satisfied with those guys. But if you look at
Fury Rivas.
But if we go on ESPN side, honestly, if we get Fury Parker, we're lucky. We are very, very lucky. I don't think we're getting that. If we get
repeat what you just said. If we get Fury versus Parker, we're lucky. Damn. Again, sad.
If we get Crawford Horn 2, their rematch, we are lucky, guys. Just being honest, right? For those two guys specifically, Loma is going to be fun. I mentioned that before, like when we started this discussion, when you brought up Loma. I'm like, Loma is going to fight Corolla, even though you're going to have his normal detractors, as usual with every Loma fight, hating on that matchup. Corolla is still a top 10, top 15 competitor. It's a mandatory. I have no issue with that. Same with I'd have no issue with Dominic Brazil being the mandatory with Wilder and them making that fight right now, right? Really no issue. And obviously Richard Comey is in the ESPN league right now, to use that term obviously very loosely in a relative sense. We know that fight's going to get made. They had it made until the hand injury. So we're going to have Loma fight Corolla and Comey this year. That's a very serviceable, satisfying year for Lomachenko, in my opinion. So Top Rank is left now with Loma having a decent year. Not a great year, but a decent year, right? An admirable year. Crawford is lucky to get Khan and fucking Luis Collazo, right? Fury's lucky to get Oscar Rivas and Joseph Parker. Top Rank is struggling to find that thing that satisfies the fan base this year. Maybe it is the light heavyweight division. It could be that, especially if they start expediting these matchups, right? Which they could. However, like I've said before, I don't know if that does anything in terms of metrics like DAZN with their middleweight division, PBC with their welterweight division, and obviously whatever Wilder and AJ respectively can do on their own, because they are such big brands and stars at this point, and their own sort of leagues have relevant enough players in their division to make intriguing matchups for them. Rob, I know I just ranted a lot, so if you have any points about what I said, you can go for it. If you have any other points about this topic, go for it. The floor is yours. If you want to move on, we can. I do have one last sort of thing I want to bring on about Vajdik in particular, and it's more of a immaterial talking point, so it's not directly related to this, so we can wrap this up with a nice bow if you want. Up to you.
Nah, you carry on. Get your Vajdik point out and let's get the ban.
And it's not... Well, this is... Do you count shitting on someone banter? And when I mean shitting on someone, I mean like actually like shitting on them. Like, you know me. Like the way I do it.
Oh, when you... Sorry. You said... I don't know you like that.
Oh,
I actually shitting on someone. When I say shitting on someone, I mean like actually. But yeah,
you're right. That was a good point. That was funny.
But in the banter, in the mocking / taking the piss kind of shitting on someone, that's banter. Yeah.
Okay, so Jake Donovan. I forget who he writes for in particular. Let me look. His name pops up. Senior writer, boxing scene, Deadline. What else, right? That's about it. He had this comment on Twitter, right, about the Vajdik card and its viewership. And I just want to make fun of him a little bit. And I want to go at him a little bit. Pause. Saying the 330 edition of Top Rank Boxing on ESPN averaged 655,000 viewers over the course of the telecast. Good news. It retained nearly 80% of its lead-in audience. That is good news. Bad news, lead-in was the UFC card, which means UFC significantly outdrew boxing on Saturday. Oh no, guys. The sky is falling. I added the whole sky is falling part. That's my added editing bracket there. Jake, look, I've had really no issues with you. We've had several interactions online. It's always been semi-pleasant, so I need to be semi-respectful here. Just because of that, I think I owe you that at least. Though I have seen some pretty laughable takes from you. This one is probably the most laughable take I've ever seen from you, Jake. Not only is this the worst hot take you can ever have from these viewership numbers, it's also a antiquated, old narrative and talking point of boxing versus MMA that is literally 20 fucking years old now, Jake. 20 years old. And the fact that you want to, in your framing of this discussion, this metric, frame it as boxing versus MMA, you are actually detracting from your own sport. You're detracting from combat sports as a whole. So that hurts us. I don't know if you know that, Jake. On top of that, to act like boxing cannot take any positives away from MMA and learn and improve itself, and vice versa with MMA to boxing, is absolutely ignorant. And to, again, peddle the narrative and talking point of boxing versus MMA when they both can materially help each other in obvious ways is extremely frustrating. Do better, boxing, especially the media. And Jake, you're a smart guy, I presume, right? You write for Boxing Scene and Deadline. I presume you're intelligent. You must realize that this was the most unintelligent take you could ever have from these viewership numbers. Is that, oh, guys, look, the lead-in helped us tremendously. Damn it. Fuck you. Fuck you and your boxing-only mindset. Shit's annoying. Shit's years old now, archaic, antiquated. Move on, Jake. Get with the times. Both sports help each other now directly, and to downplay that, discredit that, is asinine. So, again,
Just ass.
Yeah, Jake, you're just an ass for that take, honestly. And I say that with the utmost respect, Jake. So please get your head out of your ass and stop peddling this fucking archaic talking point. It's annoying. It really is.
That was a harder slap than Paulie. That was a verbal slap.
Hey, look, like I said, Jake does some really good work. This was just a really bad and dumb take. And it doesn't mean that he's a dumb person. Like I said, he seems intelligent. I presume that he's an intelligent guy. This is just not an intelligent take. This isn't an intelligent thought at all. And I question why he even put this out in the universe other than to peddle that fucking archaic talking point of boxing versus MMA when they are directly helping each other right now on the same fucking network. But digressing. Shout out to Jake.
Yeah, I miss all this kind of stuff. I don't pick up on, unless it's glaringly obvious to me that there's like what a bad point, then shit just goes over my head. But you actually read stuff properly. I don't.
And you know me, like I'm an MMA fan. Like I'm a fan of combat sports. I've said that time and time again. I mean, when I see people within the media industry that I work in detract from what I do, because that is what he's doing, in a sense. Like it may not be a direct detracting of what I do, but in a sense, it is obviously an indirect detraction of these combat sports elevating each other. He's trying to make it where they're fighting each other in some ethereal war of attrition between these two sports when that doesn't exist, doesn't need to happen, and the bickering from the media, and that's what this is old. Like it's so old now. Like I don't know if you remember the famous Joe Rogan Lou DiBella clip on ESPN. Oh, that's a classic. Let me see if I can find it. Joe Rogan and Lou DiBella argued on ESPN way back in the day about which is better, MMA or boxing. And I want to say this was back when DiBella was with HBO. I want to say. Here it is. We can play a little bit of it, I think, right? I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, you can.
Well, I mean, like, copyright.
Fighting Championship started in 1993, put together to find which style of fighting would win in an actual bout. The legendary Gracie clan with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu got the better.
Not listening to me. There we go. Oh, my God. Shout out to Brian Kenny. I forgot about Brian Kenny was here, man. Look at that. Stitching back to the zone. God, I feel like I'm about to sneeze again, Rob. Rob, just talk for a second.
Yeah, was that actually so that was Brian Kenny talking. All right. I haven't really heard him. Obviously you guys got the zone. I don't, but
it's not great.
That sounded all right. That sounded like normal American broadcasting.
I'll put it this way. He's definitely better than Chris Myers over at Fox and PBC. I know that again, something that you don't hear because you don't get that feed, but it's so bad. You have no idea how bad it is. For the sake of copyright, we're going to play some dramatic music over this. Yes.
Of karate, boxing, wrestling, and kickboxing. It's become so popular now, it offers 12 to 14 live pay-per-view events annually. And you might be thinking, how does it compare to boxing? Well, you can strike with your legs. You can wrestle as well in UFC. Of course, you can't in boxing. It's not
this was published in 2008.
It's not no holds barred either. No strikes
by Joe Rogan's.
No
this was published in 2008 by Joe Rogan's official YouTube account. I don't know if that's the exact year it happened.
Yeah.
Let's presume it was. So this is over a decade years old now. Let's get to Lou DiBella's. I don't want to hear about Brian Kenny explaining what MMA is. Here we go.
Let's welcome in right now boxing promoter Lou DiBella and UFC commentator and all-round personality Joe Rogan. Joe, let me start with you. Will mixed martial arts peak and fall like kickboxing, or will it become a permanent part of the sports culture?
Well, I certainly think it's a permanent part of the sports culture. It's a much more exciting sport than any of the other combat sports that are out there right now. And that's why it's here, and that's why it's the fastest growing sport in the world.
Lou, what do you think of UFC?
I'm not a big fan, but I tend to agree with Joe that it seems to have a fan base. It's one company dominating an entire industry. My guess is that as long as they can continue to get young white guys to watch, they're gonna be there for a long time.
Do you think it stays around? Does it compete with boxing or overtake boxing, Lou?
It has nothing to do with boxing.
So true.
The same way wrestling has nothing to do with boxing. It's a different form of entertainment. It's in a cage.
Yeah, but pro wrestling is fake. I mean, this is actual combat competition, Lou. That's very different from WWE.
Whoa. Fake?
Yeah, but it's
still railing me, damn it.
Sort of like human cockfighting, in my view, or pit bull fighting. Guys are elbowing each other to the heads. Guys are kneeing each other. They get into leg locks and start rolling around on the ground in submission holes.
Joe, you can't respond to that first, Joe.
How is that human cockfighting? You know what that is? That's actual fighting. You know what boxing is? Well, boxing is a very limited form of fighting. It's kind of a silly agreement. Say, like, we hate each other, we're going to fight, we're going to duke it out man to man, but we're only going to use our hands. That's it. What ultimate fighting is, it's the actual sport of fighting. It encompasses all aspects of fighting: ground game, kicking, punching, elbows, submissions, all the above. That's why it's much more exciting. That's why it's a much more dynamic sport. What boxing is one aspect of mixed martial arts.
If we ever advertise boxing matches on ESPN or HBO or any place else with blood splats like you do on your Spike TV show, the State Athletic Commission's would jump all over us. It's a different form of entertainment.
I have nothing to do with how they advertise it. I don't agree that blood is a very important part of the sport, and I actually don't agree that elbows are a very important part of the sport. You know, I think there's some aspects of the sport that can be changed or moved around, but the most important thing is that it's the sport of fighting. And what boxing is sport of punching. That's all it is. And there's so many aspects of boxing that are really ineffective, that don't really work in a real fight. All the bobbing and weaving and shoulder rolling, all the beautiful moves
he
that
looks so frustrated.
Whitaker and James Toney and some of those. Well, I'm a boxing fan. I love boxing.
No, you're not a boxing fan.
There's some great. Yes, how do you say I'm not a boxing fan?
Because you don't get it. It's a science. Defense is as important as offense. Guys like you would never
totally
care
understand.
about Willie Pep or Pernell Whitaker or Floyd Mayweather.
First of all, you're wrong. I just said Pernell Whitaker. You don't know me, and you don't know what I'm a fan of. I am a fan of boxing. It's a beautiful sport, but it's a sport that encompasses one aspect of fighting. What ultimate fighting is a sport of fighting. What you guys don't understand, you guys are a dying breed. You boxing guys, it's humans cockfighting. What you don't understand is your sport is getting swallowed. It's getting swallowed by a greater, more efficient, more spectacular sport.
Hey,
it's not
it's
slowly getting swallowed. The famous people that you have right now are the only famous people that are going to exist in the future for boxing. The Oscar De La Hoyas, the Bernard Hopkins, the Jermaine Taylors, the guys that were already famous before UFC came along. There will be no new ones.
Hey, Luke,
they will all
boxing
go to MMA.
Luke, can boxing...
Yeah. And there's like another 4 minutes of that, by the way. It's great.
Yeah, I'm surprised Lou made it out of there because he just goes bright red.
Yeah, he oh my God. You should,
he gets super angry.
Look, I'm gonna just here's the screen. Here's how it's paused. Look at Lou's face. Oh my God. I don't know if you're watching the YouTube feed with the sound off. You am. It'll be up in a few seconds. But oh my God, Lou's face. He looks so unhappy. But again, that was 11 years ago now, guys. Come on, Jake. Come on. Well, that was good to go down memory lane there. Let's move on.
Yeah, the Devella. That ain't Devella, right?
That is.
Holy shit.
What? What do you mean?
He looks so different.
He's thinner.
More hair.
He has
no glasses.
He has no hair in that. Does he?
Oh. He does on the sides. Oh, it's gone.
Did he have hair on the sides back then? He wasn't full baldy.
No, there was a little bit there.
I didn't notice.
No dark glasses. No getting angry and spitting when he shouts.
I'm not looking at his hair and wardrobe as much as you are, obviously, Rob.
But,
I think we found who your Chris Eubank Sr. is.
Yeah, nearly. I haven't shared any videos of him dancing or anything, so I don't know what you're talking about.
We love you, Phil.
Rogan just annoys me, although he sort of argued quite well there, I guess. But
Rogan's an asshole. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. But yeah, the sport. Yours is the sport of punching. The punching world champion. Oh well. Yeah.
But again, 10 years old now.
I don't care that UFC exists or MMA exists. I just don't watch it. That's all. Let's crack on, do your thing. I don't mind.
It's how I treat football.
Yeah,
both American and European.
Yeah, so many things bother people, and
we're gonna speak about something that bothers you though right now. You ready, Rob?
Who is number 8?
Go, man! You read my mind, man. You read. God.